Hello everyone, I'm Salar and this is part 5 from my tutorial and the last part for brief introduction about Linux operating system. And in this part, I'm gonna talking about installing program from terminal in Linux for Linux Debians, because for example in installing software or program in Linux Debian distributions like Ubuntu and Mint is different from other operating system distributions like Red Hat or CentOS. Okay, this part is dedicated for Debian distros, Debian distributions. Okay, and after this part, I will start to teach about programming in Linux and some other tools that we will need in our course for designing and real-time operating system. Okay, let's start. Let's open terminal. Okay, for example, assume that I want to install music and movie player like KM player. I don't have KM player, and if I search in start, I don't have it. Okay, so how can I install it? The command that is used for install is apt, but you should run this command in sudo mode because apt command copies some files and directories in some root file and directories, and you need to run your command with sudo when you want to install or remove a program. And the option for installing by apt is in install. Okay, apt install and the name of your program, for example km player. Okay, and if I press enter, it wants some user password and download and install it from source. Okay, it's complete, very easy, it's complete. And if another time I type km player, I have km player, and if I press enter now, km player starts, and I can't find it here. Okay, km player, and if I click on that, sorry, km player there, my operating system has some problems. Okay, running from here has some problem and you need to reboot your system, but you can run it from terminal easy. Okay, it's km player. Now let's install another program, for example htop. I don't have htop. What's htop? Htop is a program like task manager in Windows, and it gives you some information about your running task in your program, running process in your program, running program, and some other informations and observations like usage of your CPU, central processing unit, or capacity that are used in your RAM. Let's do download and install it by apt command. Apt. Now, let's say that apt just work in Debian distros, okay, distributions like Ubuntu, Mint, and other operating system that is based on Debian Linux operating system. But some other operating system like CentOS is based on Red Hat operating system, and you have yum for installing, but yum doesn't work in here. Okay, In Linux, Debian distros, you have apt command, okay? Apt with a lot of options. Okay, for example, one of them is install or upgrade a package or software. Okay, control. So let's do install htop. If I press enter, it will be installed very easy. Okay, another time if I type htop, okay, I have a command line program that, for example, here gives some information about my central processing unit CPU and its threads, some information about my RAM and swap media in my hard disk, some information about my process, for example, OBS, a screen recorder now is working in my system, and some of other process for OBS program, and a lot of other process. Okay, some from root and some from user space. Okay, the process ID of my program and other things. So how can I close from htop? Sometimes you run a command in your command line, your terminal, and command finishes after running, and control of terminal back to you, and you can enter another commands. But sometimes when you enter a command and insert the command, type a command like htop, you are moved to an environment like this, and you are not returned to terminal. So how can I back to terminal? You should press Ctrl C for termination. Okay, another time htop, Ctrl C, and then I, for example, type ls run a command, print something in terminal, the standard output after here the control is returned to me. Okay, and I can type another command. Okay, but when you type, for example, htop, you are here, and if you want to close from this environment, you should press Ctrl C. Okay, Ctrl C is for termination a running command. Okay. Okay. Now I've installed two programs, KMPlayer and htop, and I want to remove them. So how can I remove a program by apt command? The command is so easy. Sudo apt, in this time remove option, and name of the package KMPlayer. Okay, if I press enter, it says, do you want to continue? Y for approve and N for deny. Y, press enter, and take some time. And now KMPlayer is removed. Okay, another time if I open start and type KMPlayer, I don't have KMPlayer anymore. And if I type KMPlayer here, press enter, KMPlayer command not found because it's removed. There is another option for removing a program. What's that? Sudo apt purge. And as it's clear from the name of this option, purge, it purges all of information about your program from your system. Okay, for example, sometimes you install MySQL is a database in your system, and MySQL has some for example, has some configuration file in etc. Okay, etc directory here inside file system etc. Okay, some configuration in etc, and purge command clear those configurations too, but remove doesn't do that. Okay, purge is more powerful than remove, and to remove and uninstall your program completely from your system for it. So the apt purge and name of, for example, htop. Htop doesn't have a configuration file, but you can purge a program and remove program. There is not difference now for htop between remove or purge, but for some programs like even apt is a package and software, okay, or some other programs like MySQL and some databases, purge has some differences from remove. Okay, so but I can remove my program by purge. Press Y, press enter. Okay, now I don't have htop anymore. Okay, so purge is more powerful than remove because it remove your configuration files to than remove, and remove remove doesn't clear your configuration file from your file system and etc. Okay, but purge do it. Okay, so how can I give some information about my program that I want to install? For example, htop. I want to install htop, and before installing, I want some information about htop. How can I do it? apt, and because I don't want to install or remove program, I don't need sudo anymore. So I just want some information about program. And show command, show option, and name of package. Okay, and name of package. Show gives some information about package. If I press enter, now I have some information. For example, the package name is htop, version is here, some priority and section. It's not important. No. Origin is from Ubuntu maintainer, Ubuntu developers, original maintainer Daniel Lang. If I spell its name true, Lang, I don't know. For example, the size of package is 225 kilobyte, and this package is depend on some other package. For example, if you want to run htop, you need these packages, libc6 and other packages, dependencies. It's the home page of this package, and download size is 80 kilobyte. And here is source. What source? When you want to install program by apt, you need internet connection, because you first download the package and after apt install that for you automatically. Okay, and for example, this package is downloaded from here. Okay, apt search here for package, in main directory. I will describe that what's main directory, and install that in your computer, and some description about package. Okay, so for another time, if I want to show some information about km player and press enter, gives me some information, and we can see km player depends to a lot of other packages. Okay, you need all of these packages, and many of these packages are installed and were installed on your operating system automatically. And sometimes you don't have some of these packages, and apt command automatically download and install them before installing KM Player. For example, if you don't have this package, Ubuntu and apt command install it before installing KM Player in your computer. Okay, and apt does a lot of things automatically. Okay, so from first of this part, I say, for example, I want to install KM Player. So how can I found that KM Player can be installed by apt? For example, sometimes I want to install another program, like install, for example, Photoshop. Can I do that? Enable locate package Photoshop. Enable find locate package Photoshop. How can I find and realize that is there this package, for example, KM Player, in apt sources, and where is apt sources? Okay, the command is search. For example, apt search for KM Player. If I press enter, it returns me that KM Player is and exists in apt command, and you can download and install KM Player by apt command. Let's do search, for example, for Photoshop. I don't have Photoshop in apt. Okay, I don't have Photoshop in apt. Okay, sometimes you install your program by apt command, but there is another way that you can download your program and your package from internet and install it by terminal. Okay, for example, let's do search for Skype. Okay, Skype download. Okay, let's do get a Skype. Skype for desktop, available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Okay, here I have Skype in Snap package. Snap package is a new command like apt that you can install your program by Snap. I use apt. Okay, you can download and install your package by Snap, like apt by typing snap, but I don't have a snap command in my computer and I have apt. I can install a snap like this. I first search for that, apt search snap. Yeah, I have a snap here. Okay, and I can install it, but I use apt in my works. But snap is newer and it has some advantage than apt. Okay, you can get it for Windows, get it for Mac, and get it for Linux Debian. If you have, for example, Red Hat or CentOS in your computer, you should download get RPM. RPM is for Red Hat distributions, but I have Linux Mint and I have get the deb file, okay, for Debian. And if I press here, it starts to download, but I download it before in my computer. I have it. I'm finished. When you download, it's moved to your download directory in your home directory, and Skype is here, and is a .deb file, okay? .deb file here, and you can install it. So how can I install a Debian, a deb package in my computer? Okay, by terminal. So first, let's do cd to download ls. My Debian file is here. Skype for Linux, .deb for Debian distributions. And how can I install it? The command that's used for installing the program is dpkg. Okay, dpkg, the package. Okay, the package and install package. And -i option is for installing. Okay, when you want installing, for example, Skype for Linux, dpkg -i, after that Skype Debian. And if I press and say, oh, it's need like apt to root permission. Okay, it takes sometimes because Skype for Linux is bigger package than, for example, HTOP. It takes sometimes, but with the pkg and the package, you don't need first download your software from source. You have downloaded your package and just you want to install it. The package is for install. Okay, now it's installed. Skype for Linux is installed, and if I type Skype for Linux and press enter, now I have Skype. Okay, and here I have Skype here. Okay, and if I open that, I have Skype in my laptop. So how can I remove package like this that just installed by terminal? It's easy, like apt packages, apt remove or purge, but I don't have configuration file for Skype, and I can remove it just by remove, and I don't need purge. Okay, remove and Skype for Linux. Press Y, enter. Okay, Skype for Linux. If I press tab, it does not complete. It's not completed because I don't have Skype anymore and is removed. I don't have Skype. I just have installing package. I don't have Skype software in my operating system. So okay, this was about apt and the package. Okay, the package. I can remove my program with sudo the package and -r for remove, but I prefer and I would rather to use apt remove. Okay, I rather remove. Okay, so download a program by terminal. For example, I want to download a Skype package here. Coupling address. What's coupling address? If I Control Shift V, it's a download address. How can I download, for example, this package by terminal? Let's delete this and wget. Wget is a command for downloading package and the name of your package and your address of your package. Okay, but when you download it's by your, for example, Google Chrome, it's moved to download. But when you download it by wget cd tilde, it moves to your working directory. Okay, by wget you download the file in your working directory. Another time, go to download, Control L, wget, and Control Shift V or right click and click paste for address of package. It's in go skype.com, Skype for Linux -64 for 64-bit platforms, and that Debian is a Debian file for Debian's distributions. Okay, now if I press enter, it starts to downloading, and if I press Ctrl C, now my download is terminated, unfinished, and my download is unfinished and is terminated by terminal. And if you go here, you have a file, but is not a complete file because downloading is terminated and is stopped partially, and my file is partially and is an unfinished downloaded file. So how can I resume my download? I can start another download like it, and for example it's start from 0, but I have another that is 64.debian.1. okay, let's delete this. How can I resume this download? So easy. The option is -c -c for resuming file, and the name of file here, Skype for Linux -64.debian. It's is an unfinished file, and I can resume that. Okay, and if I press enter, it starts from 50%. okay, and now it's completed. Okay, it's Debian package. Now it's a finished and complete file, and I can dpkg and install it by this command, dpkg. Sorry, I need sudo purge. So I press enter. Takes some time. Okay, another time I have the Skype for Linux. Okay, so you can download your program manually and install it by terminal. Okay, and you can download your software and install just by apt command. So how can I find Which software is downloadable by apt? I said in this part that you need internet connection when you want to run apt command. But where is the source of these softwares? For example, htop, km player, or for example, another program like for sorry, gzip. Gzip is a package and is in apt sources. Let's take a look to this address. Okay, copy, open web browser and click on space. If I open that, is one of source that apt uses, okay, for downloading packages. Okay, if I go to pool, I have some subdirectories: main, multiverse, restricted, and universe. If I go to main, there is some others. For example, I go to a subdirectory, and in this I have a lot of packages that start with A. If I search for example, htop, I don't have htop in main, but I have it, for example, I think into universe. If I go, sorry, main and h, because htop start with h. Okay, if yes, okay, htop is here, and the last version Debian package is here. I can download it. It's here, htop, and I can install it by terminal. I'm in download with the sudo dpkg and -i for install and name of package. If I press enter, okay, now I have stop another time. Okay, Control C for exit. So apt download your package, your last version of package from here, and install it in your computer. So when you go in your pool subdirectory, you have 4 other subdirectories. Main is a subdirectory for those programs and those packages that is supported by source manager, here Ubuntu, and main. All of these packages are supported by Ubuntu. Okay, and it's free. So software in main are supported by Ubuntu and it's free. Software that are in restricted are supported by Ubuntu, but sometimes not free. Okay, some of the softwares that is observed here sometimes is not free completely. Okay, and some of those needs license. Okay, and multiverse and universe program like main are free but not supported by Ubuntu. Okay, supported by Ubuntu, and they controlled by communities. Okay, and softwares that are in multiverse not supported by Ubuntu, and it's not completely free. Okay, the difference between these subdirectories. For example, I have apt in universe. Control F, search for apt. Apt is here. apt is here. Okay, and you can download and install Debian package for last version and install it by dpkg. Okay, so what's called this sources, for example, archive here, archive.ubuntu.com. This source is known as repositories. Okay, repository, source of your program. Okay, and sometimes it's called repo. Okay, but it's repositories. These are the source of your programs that you can install them by the apt command or apt-get command, or for example other commands. So how can I find my repository's address? Let's give some information about that. cd to etc and apt directory, press ls. Now I have a source list and a directory, source.list that d is a directory. Sometimes your source list is in this source list file. If I open it by now, sometimes some distribution your source list is here, but I have just some command line because start with sharp here, but my source list is in the subdirectories. For example, source list hd control ls. I have some .list files. Okay, and in these files there are some address. For example, in official package repositories, nano for official package, I have some address. For example, one of those is here, archive.ubuntu.com/ubuntu. Okay, it has some subdirectories, for example, main, restricted, universe, and multiverse, and it's the version of your distribution, focal. Focal is, I think, the 20 version of Linux Ubuntu, and because Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu Linux, you can use from Ubuntu repositories in Linux Mint. Okay, and I have a mirror address that it's in Iran, my country, and because it's near me, I can download my software from this mirror with more speed. And it's here, Juliana. Juliana, I think it's the name of Mint 20. Juliana. You can study about repositories, and it's your homework. It's your homework to study about repositories, add some repositories in this address, and how can I add another address to this. For example, here I have OBS. That list, it's for OBS, my OBS program, and this software, OBS Studio, here in my desktop, is downloaded from this address. Okay, I have some homework for you and some study for you. Study about add apt repository. With this command, you can add some repositories and some listing file here and extend your sources. study about what's repositories, how can I create my repository. If you want to create a repository for yourself and you publish your software in your repository, you can create it in Launchpad website. Okay, it's Launchpad website. It's a website for Ubuntu, and if you create an account in this website and go to your account, you can create a PPA. Okay, and the PPA is abbreviation of personal package archive. Okay, you can create a repository here. Create a repository. For example, I have a repository and I create a repository that's name is PPA name, and the name of my repository is here, PPA colon Sultan is Samani, my surname, and name of this PPA is PPA. Okay, and you can read some about how you can upload your software and publish it in this source. Okay, for example, when you want install OBS Studio, an OBS project, the screen recording program for Linux. Sorry, download for Linux. How can I download that? Download for Linux. You can find that you first need to add a repository because it's not in standard repository. You first need to add a PPA repository, okay, like here, and after that install your OBS Studio with apt. Okay, sometimes and many of time programs give you some instruction for installing their program. For example, here you need a ffmpeg for is a codec for video and video editing, and you can install that before OBS Studio. Okay, because OBS Studio depends to ffmpeg. Is a codec package, codec processing package. Okay, so but many of package that you need is in and are in official packages. Okay, official repository, for example, Ubuntu repositories. And creating repositories is not needed for an elementary user of Linux. You don't want to publish your package. You just want to work with Linux like elementary. But if you want to publish a package that installable by apt command, you should create your repository, and an easy way is create in Launchpad website. Okay, but for example, Ubuntu make its repository in its server, okay, in ubuntu.com. But for example, OBS project create its repository in launchpad.net. Okay, here. So this was some information about installing program, downloading program installed by apt, get some information from your program, search for some program, and depackage your program, and you have some homework to study about repository. But here is enough for brief introduction about Linux, and it's enough for our work now. But meanwhile of this tutorial, I will describe some others, the command, and some other information, and I give you some other information about Linux operating system. But if you want to be a good user of Linux operating system, and if you want to increase your ability in Linux operating system, and if you want promotion, you should study about Linux. There is some books in Linux. For example, let's open Amazon and search for Linux, for example, command line. It's a very good book for Linux command line, and you can provide and study that. There is some Linux Bible is a very good book because it gives you more description about Linux and Linux softwares and Linux commands, and you can provide it from, for example, library, or buy it and or rent it and study that, because it's a very good book. And I think there is no Linux manager that can claim that I know all about Linux operating system, because Linux has many commands, and some of commands are native and some of commands are installed after in your operating system, and there is a lot of commands, and I think nobody can claim that I know all about Linux operating system and its commands. Okay, some commands had not been in first version of Linux operating systems and has been added after and in later Linux packages and Linux versions, and even today many of packages are added in Linux, and you should study more and search for Linux commands and increase your ability in Linux. Okay, but this 5 parts was just a brief introduction to Linux. Okay, and now I have a recommendation for you to study about shell scripting. Okay, for example, if I open, for example, Linux Bible, and I cannot see that. I cannot see it. Table of content. Look inside. I can see table of this book. Let's try another time clicking that. Let's just see the table of contents. Okay, here. If see the content of this book, it has a lot of information about exploring the system, redirection, process. You can study about process and what's process in Linux operating system, but it's a hard part of Linux operating system. You can do your networking in terminal and a lot of other things, and you can write shell script. What's a shell script? Shell script is a file, for example, like solar.sh, and in that file you write your commands like a program and continuously do. For example, you want to enter some commands for a specific work, and if you want to ease your process, you can save all of your command in a shell script file. For example, I said solar.sh and run this file. Okay, it's like a programming language, shell scripting, and you can study about that because a professional Linux user does a lot of its work in shell script mode. Okay, and shell scripting is a very powerful option of Linux operating systems and terminal. Okay, so I recommend you to study about shell scripting. But now it's enough. And from the next part, start to programming with GCC and other tools that we will need in our work. Okay, thank you very much.